allergies are kicking my butt. You guys know what I mean, right? Living in Texas, my nose is runny probably, I'm going to say 10 months out of the year. Throat gets scratchy and all that fun stuff. And then, of course, with allergies, you have to, with the coronavirus and stuff going on, you have to tell people, it's just allergies, just allergies. Anyway, today I wanted to talk about something that I ran into, again, via social media. I did an episode where we talked about what you kind of need to get started doing podcasting, doing music, and all that stuff. Nowadays, technology is great. You're able to be a self-sufficient individual nowadays. You don't need a lot of people to get things done. There's many successful artists out there now who prove that you don't even need a freaking record label to do your music. You can become very successful without having to sign away your creative properties. You can do it all on your own. So with that being said, there's a lot of times I'm a part of a lot of like music groups on social media, and I'm part of a lot of like marketplaces, so people selling their gear. You have a lot of people looking for bands, people who are coming in. A lot of people are starting to move here to Texas, so you have a lot of outsiders coming in looking to start bands and kind of pick up where they left off in other cities and other states, and they're coming here and they're wanting to do stuff, which is awesome. Like bringing back the music scene here, especially in San Antonio, is really awesome. I think that it's something we definitely need. We are a music city. We're not as popular and as hip as Austin is, but we definitely still have. We had a music scene. I haven't been in it in a while, so I don't know what the scene looks like in today's format, but I know that we used to, and just seeing more people flocking to our city, looking to be in bands and start stuff is really, it's nice to see. But of course, with all of that, you still get people who tend to, cut corners, I guess you could say. And so I wanted to read a post. I wasn't able to get a screen grab of the actual comments of me and him back and forth, because I literally left. We went back and forth just like once or twice, and he completely just deleted the post. So, and I wasn't trying to be rude either, but I'm just going to base it off of what he said. So he posted, "I need someone who is very skilled on drum beats and music editing that can take what I have and make it beautiful, tweak it, take out any unusual background or audio noise and make it sound more together. It has a guitar and bass already on it. It just needs drums, and I will add vocals later. Not looking to spend a lot of money either." So when I read that, I basically just told him, I was like, hey man, get Superior Drummer. You can do your own drum stuff with Superior Drummer. And his response was basically an excuse. Like, I don't know how to play drums. And I told him, I was like, you don't need to know how to play drums to play. It's literally a software that you use. It's a sample drum kit. If you know how to use a grid, and you know the different names of, you don't even have to know the names. You can literally sample it and hear what it sounds like. But they have sections for the kick, for the toms, for the snare, for your cymbals. You have your overhead mics. You have all that stuff. You can tweak everything. You can make it sound almost as realistic as an acoustic kit. Granted, it'll never really sound like an acoustic kit, but you can get there. A lot of bands use it. And the reason why I said that was because, again, reading his post, I was kind of chuckling to myself, because again, he made all these excuses talking about, I want this and that, blah, 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 blah. And so the main thing that popped out to me was the very end, where he's saying he doesn't want to spend a lot of money. And it's kind of like, dude, I could have thrown a drum part together in Superior Drummer real quick and maybe made a couple bucks off this guy. But the problem is I think he wants an acoustic drummer. And with that, it's not going to be cheap, because you got to look at it like, if you're wanting acoustic drums, the guy who's going to be doing your drum track is either going to have that set up in his house, which probably costs a pretty penny to do, And then you're gonna have to pay him for that plus his time. You know what I mean? Like, he's gonna want to recoup that money back that he spent. That's it's not cheap to do that type of stuff. And let's say you don't have a drummer that does that, but you have a drummer that has access to a studio. Like, what if he would have found a drummer that was like, yeah, I'll record it, but I don't have a recording studio, but I'm willing to jam with you and kind of make a drum part with you. You would, if I was doing that, I wouldn't pay for the studio time. I'd be like, you pay for that, and then I can go in and I can lay down the drum track. So I don't know what this guy was wanting, especially putting that at the end, saying he's not really wanting to spend a lot of money, but you want people to work on an original track that you created. And the other part that made me laugh is that in there he says that he wants, from what I'm gathering, it's just a guitar track and a bass track, and they're probably not even played to a metronome, because he says, I'd like you to edit and take what I have, make it beautiful, tweak it, take out any unusual background or audio noise, whatever the fuck that means. So that's telling me he's probably not directly plugged in. Like with my setup, I don't have a mic on an amp. I haven't reamped anything. I'm literally going off of guitar software that is in my computer. So I can literally record guitar tracks with you screaming your head off behind me, talking loud and shit, unless my pickups pick it up. You know what I mean? So just to hear him, it looks like he's wanting a lot. And to take out background noise, it's almost to the point where it's like, dude, I'm just going to have to re-record these guitars myself. So I would either have to have you come over and record, or if I record it, like if I was to do a job like that for him, I would want to re-record the guitars, re-record the bass, and do the drums, and have it all just redo it completely. Because like I said, knowing him, he probably didn't even have a metronome on it. So even trying to program drums, if the guitar part is not on time, I won't be able to program the drums, because the drums, like, the cool thing about when you record with sample drums is that, you just basically set the BPM. You don't even have to have the metronome going. You can just make your drum beat, and you can play along to that, because it's going to be on beat. It's going to be the right tempo. But if he's just recording and he doesn't know the tempo, now I have to spend time to find what the tempo is. And then again, if it doesn't match up with the metronome, well, then we're up shit creek. So I don't know what this guy was wanting. It doesn't make sense. And I see this all the time with people who want to do something, but then they want everyone else to do the work for them. And I've never understood that. I don't understand where this person thinks that he's going to take his music. And then again, when I told him to get Superior Drummer, I wish I could have got the screen cap, because his comment came off very kind of rude, because he was just basically like, I don't know how to play drums. I don't want to learn how to play drums, and I just want to find someone to do it. It's like, dude, you ain't going to find nobody who's going to do it for you at a reasonable price. And then you're also telling them that they need to take, like, the way you're describing the guitar tracks sounds like it's going to be more work and more of a headache than it's worth, especially if you're not willing to pay money. You're not willing to pay a lot. You expect a drummer to just play along to your crappy guitar tracks and expect to get quality out of it. I wish I would have hit him up and just been like, yo, send me the track so I can hear him. So I could have got an idea. Because I could be wrong. I mean, he could have an amazing guitar part. But again, if there's a lot of background noise, or if he just did it with like a crappy mic and hooked it up, put it in front of his amp, and it just, there's no amount of editing that I can do, that I know of, or that an engineer's going to want to put in, that's going to make it sound great. If you're sending just a low quality file. So it's like, I don't know what you expect. Unless you're just going for that, then great. And maybe we're doing a punk track. I don't know. But those type of people, it just blows my mind how little knowledge they have. Like, they want to and learning an instrument is one thing. Like, it takes a long time to learn to play an instrument and play it well. And most of the musicians that I know, they're not cocky enough to sit there and tell you that they're masters at their craft. And that's what makes them amazing musicians, is that they don't pretend like they're masters. They constantly strive to be better than they were. And they constantly surround themselves with musicians that they feel are miles better than them, so they can learn something. They're always open to wanting to learn more. And a handful of those musicians have become more than just a guitar player, more than just a bass player, more than just a drummer, more than just a vocalist. They've either dabbled in other instruments, or they've taken the initiative to learn more about the mixing, the mastering, the editing and engineering part of music. And you're starting to see that across the board. I mean, look at all the YouTube guys that are coming up and that are super popular on YouTube, and they're doing their own music. You know what I mean? Like, I do my own music for this podcast, the intro music, the outro music, the tracks the solo tracks that I release on, random episodes. It's and again, it's all a learning process. Like, I don't think my recordings are that great. I know there's a lot of room for improvement, and I'll continue to improve. But I don't know. I just feel like there's a group of people out there who see the rock star lifestyle, and they think it's super easy, and they want to just cut as many corners as possible to get to that plateau. And I just don't get it, man. When there's a lot of artists that I see who truly bust their ass, and they do everything themselves, and those are the people that I love backing. Those are the people that I respect. Those are the people that I aspire to be. You know what I mean? Doing the podcast, and like, don't get it like twisted either. Like, doing the podcast is not hard, and I know I probably cut corners too. There's my editing style for this podcast is maybe different from other podcasters. Some podcasters have their own editors, so they just basically record the episode, and they let somebody else deal with all the editing stuff, which is fine. Especially if if you're the talent and you don't want to bother with that, and if you can afford to pay an editor, awesome. Like, that's badass. Me personally, I mean, if I ever got to the point where I could afford one, maybe. But at the point right now, it's kind of like I'm learning all this stuff myself, so I can be self-efficient, and I can do these things without having to rely on anyone. It's one of the things I learned growing up, is I can't rely on other people. I learned that very young. Just trying to team up and partner with people never really worked out. And then just also having a product and trying to share that product and involve others to be a part of it, it never really worked out. You just, people have different driving levels. People have different passion levels, and some people tend to just overthink things, and others, which is, it's not a bad thing. I know, coming across people in my life, a lot of the people that I run into, procrastination is a very big thing in the circles that I used to be in. So, and I'm no different than that. I tend to procrastinate a lot. And I'm trying to escape from that. I'm trying to get away from that. So a lot of the times, especially with this podcast, when I got this started, I just wanted to throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. It's an experience, and I want to grow as a podcaster. I want to grow as a musician. I want to grow as a producer and an engineer. And I know I'm going to fuck up here and there. And it's okay, because for me, it's a learning process. And when I do those fuck ups, I don't really want to gloss over those fuck ups. I want you guys are along with me, and I want you guys to see when I have those fuck ups and see how I bounce back and grow from those. So hopefully, it may inspire some of you guys to get up and strap your boots nice and tight and march out there and do what makes you excited and chase those goals that you have. And it may not be in entertainment, it may be in something else, but at the end of the day, you're gonna fail. And how you approach those fails is really gonna decide your fate and your passion. Do you fail and let it consume you and let it break you down to the point where you're like, I can't do this? Or do you persevere and say, you know what, that didn't work, but I'm going to take that and I'm going to learn from it and I'm going to push forward and I'm going to adapt and be better. I'm doing this episode literally. I don't know when this episode's going to release, but I just went on a hiatus with the podcast. We missed a week because my computer was messed up. And it bummed me out, man. I was depressed this whole week. Today's Friday. I'm recording an episode on Friday, and I release episodes on Friday. But I record in bulk, so I record whenever I have time, and I backlog all my episodes. So with that being said, with the program that I use, or the hosting site, I can actually upload a shit ton of episodes, and then I can schedule them to drop when they are scheduled to drop. I didn't do that, and I probably still won't, just because I don't know. I'm weird like that. I like to just grab the episode that day and upload it. The smart and responsible thing we do is, since I have all these episodes backlogged, just upload them we'll put one for every Friday on the calendar, and then they will release on their own when the date comes. But I don't do that. Maybe I'll change my mind. I don't know. Now talking about it, maybe it is the smarter thing to do. But anyway, my computer was messing up, so I missed a whole week of not putting up an episode, and it killed me because I want to. Every other project that I've ever done with anybody throughout my life, we've always talked about how you want to set up a schedule and you want to have a schedule in place, so when you start building a fan base, your fan base will know what to expect, and they know when it's coming. And instead of just randomly throwing shit out there, and then your fan base just doesn't know when the next episode's coming or when you're doing something. So to try to stay with that tight schedule and not being able to produce product really bummed me out. It really got to me. I really got depressed. And the thing is I don't have a huge fan base right now. I have maybe 3 or 4 dedicated listeners, and then just randos that come in and out. We just hit our 100 mark at, 6 episodes? Six episodes out, we hit our 100, or I think it was 5 episodes out, we hit our 100 download mark. So that was a huge thing for me. I was super excited about that, and for everyone listening, thank you for helping us get to that point. Like 100 downloads may not seem a lot, it may not seem like a lot to people, but to me, it means everything, because it means that people are listening. And so I want to thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to hear me just ramble about shit. Because I am, like I said, I kind of go with my editing style. It's kind of guerrilla style. It's if you guys ever listen to Bill Burr's Monday Morning Podcast, he's just in his room recording, and he doesn't have this high-tech equipment. And that's, I'm kind of doing that in the sense, I don't have super high-tech equipment. I probably have better equipment than he does, but because he just he has the basic shit. He's talked about it before, but even then, he just talks, and his editing is done really minimally, and that's kind of how I am with the podcast. My editing's really minimal. And maybe that will change with time, as I learn and learn better techniques and stuff like that, but it's always a learning process. And that's kind of what I'm coming across with this whole conversation, is that, whatever it is that you want to do, pursue it, and don't procrastinate. Don't wait around. Don't wait for somebody to come around and help you. No one's going to help you. No one gives a shit. They're focused on their own things. You're going to be your biggest and worst critic. And that's kind of one thing that I have to kind of, I guess, be narcissistic about, is that I have a lot of confidence in myself. And so it's good to have an ego in that aspect, because again, I'm not afraid to throw shit against the wall and see what sticks. I'm not afraid to fail. I've failed a lot in my life. Am I tired of being a failure? Yes. But I have things in place that keep me motivated. You know, I want to prove to my kids that as long as you stay headstrong and you keep pushing forward, you can be successful in whatever it is that you want. You may fall, and you may fall a lot, but the goal is to continue getting up and keep pushing, keep pursuing. You know, at the end of the day, the other thing that keeps me going is I guess, like I said, I'm tired of working for the man. I'm tired of being someone else's puppet. I'm tired of busting my ass, and the people who are above me don't give a shit because how they got to their position, they cheated the system. And really, in any kind of corporate job, it seems like the worse you do, the better rewards you get. They don't reward hardworking people. So I got tired of having to work for other people's dreams. And I hope you do too. Like, do for yourself. Find out what you're passionate about and do it. Do it. And like I said, if you're into music, if you're anything that you have that is shareable and you want to share it with this podcast, by all means, I am open to it. And like I said, I don't even have to critique it. If you just want me to share it with the community, I am all for that too. Like, just make it known. And if you don't want my opinion, I won't give an opinion, because like I said, my opinion tends to be harsh and it tends to be blunt, and I tend to be super honest, and I'm not going to sugarcoat things. That doesn't mean that I'm better than you. It doesn't mean that I look down on you. It's just my opinion. It's my preference, and that's just the way I view things. Not saying that I'm going to be super negative about everything. That's not who I am. But yeah, man, like, just reading that guy's post really bummed me out, because again, it's I've taken time, and I know people, that I know personally have taken time to learn these crafts and taken time to learn how to do these things. And you still have these type of people who are constantly reaching out, constantly begging. And again, I wish you would have kept that post up, because I guarantee you, no one would have hit him up. Not one. Because I've seen it before, where another guy posted, and he also deleted it on for a reason though. This other kid deleted his, and again, he was a young kid. He's learning, but people just flamed him, poor kid. But he was trying to get a band together. He had nothing to show musically. He was a guitar player. He had nothing to show. But his ad was okay. He was looking for another guitar player, a bass player, a drummer, and a keyboard player, and which was fine. And you know, your reasonable requests when you put a post like that is saying, you know, these are the type of musicians I'm looking for. They need to have their own equipment. They need to have their own transportation. They need to be available for practices. The practice days are going to be da. You need to be available for those. You need to be available for shows, and stuff like that. That's reasonable criteria to recruit musicians. This kid, on the other hand, decided that he was going to say that he wanted musicians between the ages of, I think he said 16 and 20. He also wanted nobody could be married, nobody could have girlfriends, they all needed to be single. So he got flamed. Now, anybody who's a musician right now is just cringing by me saying that. The first one, age-wise, well, if you're an older musician like me, I'm in my 30s. If I'm looking for bandmates, the majority of the time, I'm doing the actual opposite of what he's asking for. I want somebody who's over the age of 21. Because, again, if we're playing bars, I don't want to have to deal with a minor. And two, I don't want to have to deal with a minor. not only just because of the alcohol stuff, but also based on just mentality wise. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of great musicians out there who are very young and very talented. But when you're an older musician and you're trying to start a band, typically you want older guys, like mid-20s. I would accept a 19-year-old if he was really good and he had a good head on his shoulders. But typically, if I was looking for bandmates, I would be looking for somebody of drinking age and of, and again, I would also, my specifications would be they can't have a dependency. I don't want no dependencies in my band as far as like alcohol, drugs, and all that stuff. I don't give a fuck if you have a girlfriend. And I think that's where he was getting flamed the most, was that he wanted no girlfriends, and people were basically making fun of him, calling him a virgin, and because he didn't have a girlfriend, no one else could, and stuff like that. So that part kind of made me laugh, because he was kind of asking for it. But then again, he had a chance to really kind of back up his claim when people, because he had people that were interested. He basically was saying like, hey man, like there a couple guys would ask him like, hey, well, what kind of music do you want to play? What kind of genre are we looking at? What are your musical influences? But his response was very vague. Well, we're playing all kinds of music. We're just gonna play all kinds. It's like, dude, you're not gonna. It's cool, but you got to have some kind of parameter. Are you going for country blues? Are you going for, folk? Are you going for rock and roll? Are you going for metal? Saying we're gonna play everything, and then you have those strict rules. It's gonna be very hard to find someone. And again, he ended up deleting it, and then he changed a couple days later. He changed his because I know one of the comments that I left was basically outlining the kind of parameters that most people are looking for when they're looking for bandmates. And so he I think he woke up to that, and he kind of set those parameters in his next post. But he had already made waves with the first one, so even that second post, I didn't comment on his second post, but I read some of them, and he was getting flamed on that one too. So the trolls came after him on that one. So I hope he found some bandmates, and hopefully he's not, hopefully he's able to be successful with this stuff. But me personally, I think that he's one of those guys that, just like this other dude, you're going to join his band, and he's going to rely on you to write everything, promote everything, and he just wants to play guitar. He doesn't want to deal with all the extra shit. He don't want to learn any extra, and there's nothing wrong with that. I know musicians that's they're just hired guns. They understand music and they understand theory, and they try out and they just want to play guitar, or they just want to play bass. They just want to play music. They don't want to do any of the business side of things, and that's fine. That's great. But those type of people typically go out and look for bands who need a addition. They're the ones that are answering the ads, not the ones that are typically putting up the ads and making rules and stuff like that. So, I mean, I guess it boils down to just know your role. Know your role and play that role. But yeah, this episode's getting a little bit long. I didn't want to go too long with this one. It's just something that I wanted to kind of talk about. But again, if you guys have anything you want to share with me, questions, comments, if you guys want any kind of advice, just wanting to know what my take is on things, have original music, original stories that you'd like me to share, then by all means, send it to cognitivediscoursepodcast@gmail.com, cognitivediscoursepodcast@gmail.com. We also have a Facebook group, so you can join that. Just search the Cognitive Discourse Podcast, and I have the picture as the same logo as the logo that if you're listening to this on Spotify or any of the streaming services, that logo is in the Facebook group. So just join our Facebook group, join the conversation. I also made a Parler. So if you have a Parler, I don't get on it as much right now. I do get on occasionally. But the format's a little rough. They need to definitely do some work on it. But, yeah, if you have a Parler, join me on Parler. Again, it's at the Cognitive Discourse Podcast. And you can find that. I don't have the emblem on there. I just have a picture of myself, in a Jesus Christ posed. So my arms are out in the T, and I'm at a cathedral, and it's one of my favorite pics of me. You can't really see my face, but I like it. Anyway, you can join me on there. And if I can start building an audience on Parler, maybe I'll be a little bit more active on that. I'm still probably going to make a Twitter and an Instagram, just haven't gotten around to it yet. But when I do, you guys can find me on there as well. But yeah, thanks for listening. And again, I want to give a big thank you to everybody who helped us get to 100 downloads. Now let's race for 200. Yeah. But yeah, appreciate you guys tuning in. Enjoy your weekend. Y'all be safe. And until next time.